Once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining for another session of Azure Power Lunch. As you know, we record these calls and place our recordings on our YouTube channel. So if you're not comfortable with it, you may want to drop off now. And as I've said before, that any opinion expressed by me are strictly mine and do not reflect my employer. The standard disclaimer. Quickly, we are going to be talking about MCP support in API management and API center. Just a quick show and tell, and then we will talk about when you should use one versus the other. Sorry, guys, this thing is not something wrong with the um, uh, my PowerPoint. So let's go back. Just a quick overview of MCP, Model Context Protocol, as you know, allow us to the our large language model and AI agents to basically connect securely to our third party system. I mean, you can write your own code to do that, to be honest. But once again, the advantage is that's brittle. I mean, as you add more systems, you're writing custom code, in the end, it becomes unmanageable. Talked about it. This provides you a universal plug and play method where you can write your a follow-up pattern and write your code in a standard way to connect to these services. Okay, and that can be your databases, that can be your file system, that can be some other inventory system that you need to be exposed through accessible by your agent and LLMs and all that. Okay, just keep in mind that um, um, that MCP support is some in some areas it's in preview and some areas GA. I will talk about it as we go further. Just a quick in terms of components, you have the MCP host. This is the AI application, which is like a chatbot, which is basically where your LLM resides. Okay. Then you have the MCP client. That's the piece that talks to MCP server. That's the translation. And then you have the MCP server, which is basically talking to the backend system and exposing, you know, whatever information you need for, by through the database or from the third-party API and all. Okay, that's that. So let's move on. Quickly, let's move on to the next slide. This is our high-level architecture. As you can see, you have an MCP host, which is an AI application, and it's talking to um, the third part, the data sources A, B, and C through three MCP servers. So MCP server is kind of in the middle tier, provides you the ability to connect. So that's a quick level set on MCP. We have talked about it before. API management. Some of the things that API management brings to the table, API management, as you know, is a Microsoft first party service which allows you to expose your APIs externally. So that's that service. Um, One second, guys. Sorry, there was some background noise. Let me just. If you don't mind, can you please mute if you're not speaking? Okay. So, this is, as I said, API management is Microsoft's uh, first party service, which allows you to expose your API to external customers or internal customers, as per se, and allows you to separate the presentation of the API from its implementation. So you can have the ability to apply policies, to rate control, to secure. So now API management is bringing the same capabilities to MCP server. So now you can bring in your API. Basically, you can just bring any API. Has to be REST at the moment. I should be careful saying that. Has to be a REST API. You can expose it through APIM as an MCP server. Okay, so that's the feature that has gone part of it is GA, part of it, for example, some A2A agent support is just still in public preview. But anyways, so that's the piece that is using the AI gateway that is built in inside API management. That's with that support, this is bringing this capability into front. So what you get with it, number one, governance and security. So you can apply policies. So you can do rate control. You can, um, have the do the OAuth keys. You can monitor the interaction, how, the uh, how the requests are coming in, or do the app insight for diagnostics, uh, all of that, and it is supported on all tiers, both V1 and V2, and it's also supported on self-hosted gateway. So if you have a gateway that is running in like a container, self-hosted gateway that you can run on-prem or in third party, it also support this capability. Just keep in mind at this moment, tools are supported, prompts are not yet supported. Okay, and it's not supported in workspaces either. So just keep that in mind. Any questions, folks? So time for a quick demo. So what we're gonna do? Uh, Let me show you what I have first. First of all, this is my API management. It's a basic V2 instance, and I have a very simple API. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm doing bare minimal. I have this API, and if you look at these two methods, I am basically building some, JSON and returning it. So that's all there is to. So there's no implementation. These are kind of the goal here is not to show how sophisticated your API is. Goal here to show how you can easily expose it through as an MCP server. So that's what it is. Okay. So let's quickly test it out from here. So if we just want to do a get orders method, um, let's do a send. We're just testing it from. So it's give us three. These are the three orders that are there in the system. Okay, that's that. So now let's go to the interesting part. MCP servers preview. This piece is in public preview. There are two options. You can expose an existing MCP server. So if you have one, or you can expose a REST API. At this moment, the API has to be a REST API. What I heard on a public talk that the other support for other APIs is coming, but at this moment it's only REST API. So we are going to select the API, we select that, and then we select the operation. So you can select whatever operation you may have. Just keep in mind if you have a delete operation, you may wanna not select it because that's something, any type of removal of data has to be carefully washed and you may wanna hold off on that. Okay, so let's give it a name and we are gonna do orders API. With that, we are going to create it. So now we have created our MCP server. It's here. And what we are going to do is I have a VS Code set up. Just keep in mind in VS Code, what I have done is I have set up um, the API management extension. And with that, I'm able to not only, if you're not aware of it, you can test your APIs, you can apply policies, you can write policies, and at the same time, you can work with the MCP servers as well. So if you see here, these are my APIs. So what we're going to do, we're going to first test this API from here. So you see, these are API operations. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to do test operation. I hope everybody can see it. So at this point, of course, its API need a subscription key. So I am going to go down and I'm going to get the existing one of the built-in subscription, copy subscription key and primary key, and then I'm going to paste it here. Okay, so that's it. And then we click on the send request. It's going to send. Oh, so we just verified that this API is working in VS Code as well. And now let's go into the MCP preview. Okay. So there are two. Pass through is whatever if we have registered a MCP server. And then we have the transformative. This one is we have created this API basically, from REST. So this is from REST to MCP, and it shows us the two tools. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna take two things. We are gonna first test it out through the MCP inspector. If you're not familiar, MCP inspector is a third-party tool. It's an open source tool as far as I know, and you can run it, and it kind of gives you a way to debug your MCP service, gives very good information in regards to different operations and things like that, and help you kind of troubleshoot any issues. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to say copy server URL, and just click on this streamable HTTP, okay? And it will say MCP server URL has been copied to the clipboard. Wonderful. So with that, what we're gonna do, um, I'm gonna go in here and I'm going to run the MCP inspector. You can just search on your favorite search engine, and you will find the instruction how to run this thing. So let me move tab to new window. I'm going to bring this window into focus. So this is the MCP inspector. I'm going to paste this URL here. So just keep in mind, select streamable HTTP and just leave the via proxy by default. And now let's try to connect. So now it has connected. So, oh, by the way, this is very useful. It will tell you what it's trying to do. First is initializing. Initializing is successful. Method initialize, and what was returned, exchange, what was the response, and then what you can do is you can list tools. Okay, so these are and you can test from here if this thing is working or not. And look what's going to happen if I try to run it. Okay. So this one, it's working. It's returning me all three results. And if I do oh, by the way, just to be very fair, I just want to make sure I clarify this thing. I disabled API authentication on this one. That's why. Otherwise, you have to put in. Oh, okay. I already have the keys. So that's why I think that's why it's working. So basically, what you will have to do is you will have to put the subscription key here as a custom header in order for this thing to work. Otherwise, it would not have worked because I was surprised. I was thinking like how this is working because we have put the APIM subscription key here. Okay, so if I do get orders by ID, let's say I put 2001 run tool, it's gonna give me the this particular information about this order. Okay, that's all well good. I mean, we could have done it without APIM, but what is APIM bringing to the table? And let me show you that. Okay, so we all know about policies. APIM allow you to set policies and all that. So we are going to apply a very simple policy here. Okay, so we are going to go back to our API management. This is our MCP server. This is the configuration, all of that methods and everything. And these are the policy. At this point, there is no policy there. So I'm just gonna set a policy here, rate limit, 5 calls, renewal period, 60 seconds, and standard. So basically you can only make 5 calls in a matter of 5 minutes. I mean, this may require if you are in development and that MCP server behind the scene is calling a resource where you are paying per call. Okay, so or anyways, you don't want to overwhelm the system. So you just want to make sure you can test it out and for many other reasons. And this is a very simple policy we are applying. So we set it up. Okay, so now let's go back to our MCP inspector and let's try to run the tool. And we are going to do the get orders and we are going to call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see, 4 to 9. Rate limit is exceeded. Very simple. I mean, this is kind of the best of both worlds. You have your MCP server, you have been able to integrate it. Um, with API management, and through that integration, the benefits that you get, like policies. So, I mean, if I want, I can apply an authentication policy. So it can only be called when you send an OAuth token to it. And you may want to do that for certain applications, or you want to do some other policies there in this regard. So the number of policies uh, that that are available in API management are supported for this particular for this particular integration of MCP server with API. Any questions, folks? Okay. Last but not least, let's see if we can import it inside. We can see it inside Copilot. So first of all, let's start a new chat. And over here, we come in, we copy the server URL, we copy the right URL, and then we go command palette, add server, HTTP. We paste paste the URL. So this is the URL we are pasting, and we are going to name it orders. Okay, so we just give this name, and this server is here. And let's start this server. We're gonna stop others, and we are going to start this server. And if we say show output, it's gonna show that there are two tools there. That's good. The two tools are showing up. So that's that. And just like that, what we can do is we can say, give me all orders. Give me a list of all orders. Okay. And it's gonna, I was testing, so these are some old version. I'm gonna skip those. And I'm just going to use the one that we just added. So, oh yeah, you see 429 error showed up. So what we need to do is we need to add the appropriate header. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna copy these headers from here and I'm going to paste it here. So now we have added those headers. Let's try the same. Get me a list of all orders again. And once again, we're going to skip the ones that we don't want to use. And we are restarted. And we are going to use this one. So you see, it shows the three orders. I mean, not a big deal, but just kind of we saw the use that we have in not only in um, the MCP inspector, but in the GitHub Copilot. So that's how the integration works. So it's very simple API without any effort. We converted into an MCP, and that MCP we have applied policies and all that. So now it's kind of we have not only exposing data as an MCP, but we are able to apply governance on it. So that's the API management side of it. Let's quickly go back to any questions, folks. So what is with API Center in terms of MCP? API Center has full support for MCP in terms of you can bring in your own MCP servers. You can bring in servers that you have hosted in APIM as MCP. You can bring those there, and it has native integrations as well. So you can do all of these things. Okay. It has integration with logic apps. If you remember, we did a session in the past, a few months back, where we showed how you can host a MCP server that you developed in Logic App, expose it through API Center. Okay, so that you can definitely do that, and that is that's something that you can use across the entire organization. And there is an API Center portal which allows you to see basically what MCP servers are available to be used in your organization. And just keep in mind, at this point, both Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and GitHub allow you to use registry-based MCP control. So basically, what you can do is at the org level, you can set up a registry, or you can say only use MCP server from this registry. So, and you can use the API center for that. In that case, it will be only using the API, the MCPs from that particular registry, which is API Center. Okay. Of course, that's not end all be all. Somebody can go in and just use an external MCP server. What you will have to do is you have to have appropriate network control to make sure that any external service cannot be used, which is prohibited in your organization. Okay. So let's quickly move on. So in terms of demo, I just want to show a quick demo here. This is the API Center, um, and it has API MCP preview. So basically, you can integrate these MCP servers if you want to register, integrate with these services. At the same time, if you want to register an MCP server, you can do that here. I can say this is the APL order MCP, and for that, I can get the same URL that I got before, copy server URL, and I can use this one here. What I have to do is I just have to say this is MCP. Okay, I can use this URL. Sorry, this is summary. This is the URL, and I have an existing environment dev, all of that. Then we go down and we say version title V1, version life cycle, its development. And once we are done with that, we do create, and it's going to create this as an MCP registration in API Center. Okay, so this is APL, this is development. And what you can do is you can go to the portal. This is the API portal, API Center portal. So this is where all the APIs are. You can refresh it, and there can be possibly hundreds of API. If you just want to see the MCP ones, you can. Okay, why it is not showing? Let me. Yeah, so this is basically, as you can see, this is type MCP that's showing up here. So you can use that, and you can, if you want to test it out, you can test it out as well. And you can copy the URL from here. So basically, that's the end-to-end registration for this. Any questions, folks? I, to be honest, uh, we have already spent time on it in the past, so that's why I didn't want to go over too much on it in the previous session with Logic Apps. We went through the portal, all of the setup in detail. So this is kind of a comparison for support. So that's where you want to see what you want to use. So as you can see, for the centralized registry, um, if you have a lot of MCP server that you're using third party as well as first party, probably API Center is a better role, better tool for that. Azure API Management definitely can be used to expose APIs, MCP server. You can apply policies and all that stuff, but API Center is one place which will serve as your repository. Just keep in mind, you can apply um, you can apply RBAC role, so not everybody can register APIs in API Center to make sure only appropriate roles can register their APIs in API Center as MCP servers, and you go from there. So that's kind of a quick comparison between these two MCP between API Center and APIM in terms of the MCP support. Okay. Um, with that, when to use the API Center? As I said, enterprise-wide cataloging. You want to manage environments and things like that. It's kind of at a high level you are using it. Let's say you have a kind of a you have different partner MCP server that you want to have at one place. That's where you would be taking advantage of the MCP capabilities of API Center. I think it's self-explained. API management, it's power kind of a REST where you can expose REST APIs as MCP server. So you have REST APIs, you can quickly expose it as MCP server. And as I said, they're looking at other legacy APIs as well to be exposed as MCP server. So you can secure the integration, by applying policies and things like that. You can do logging, all of that. So that gives you a lot of number one, ease of use, because your just REST APIs goes as MCP servers, and not that. Since through policies you can secure them, you can govern them, and you can set up logging and analytics to see how the traffic is going and how these services are being used. Okay. In terms of closing, so what we talk about today is MCP support, which is Modern Context Protocol, MCP server support in API Center and in API management. As you know, um, the ability to expose REST APIs as MCP server in API management is now available through portal. You can go and you can expose existing REST APIs as MCP servers. And it's not just that, you can apply policies on it, policies to that. And what that means is you can secure them, you can apply governance to them. On the other hand, API Center allows you to um, you can do cataloging and discovery of your MCP servers there. You can host, you can basically register MCP servers that are hosted in API management. At the same time, if you are doing third-party integrations with partners like GitHub, for example, GitHub, you can do that as well. So both complement each other. APIM handles runtime, while API Center provides you the visibility at the enterprise governance and visibility at the enterprise level. Okay, so we are just on time. Any questions, folks? Sorry, we have 1 minute over. Okay. If not, thank you for joining and hope to see everybody next week for another session of Azure Power Lunch. Thanks.
Thank you, Naveed.
Thank you.